I'm curious though, obviously 20 years in the financial space, we're living in some crazy times right now. What is the biggest limiting belief that the average person has out there, talking just kind of the middle American person has when it comes to creating financial abundance or wealth in their life?
Fear that you need money to make money. I created an $82 million company with a $500 investment. I don't have a college degree. There's nothing about me that says I should be an entrepreneur. There's nothing about me that says I should be a millionaire. There's nothing about me that says I should be enjoying the things I'm enjoying today based on my talent, my skill, my resume. Nothing says that about me, brother. It's just like if you knew me in my past, the brokenness I went through, the times I blew all this money in the clubs, all the times that I blew money and unnecessary. Bro, our first deployment, we had porn mags all over the damn place, all these different things. There's nothing about me that says I should be living the life I'm living today. So listen, don't feed your fears, my friends. Feed your faith.
What is it the average person is fearful of?
That their friends, that their family, that the marketplace says they're not good enough. You should stick with your job. It's everybody's doing that already. Who are you to do this? Listen. I just posted a picture of 5 biggest questions that people posed to me when I decided to become an entrepreneur coming out the Marine Corps. What do you know about insurance? What do you know about entrepreneurship? What do you know about business? You filed bankruptcy 2 years ago. You went through a divorce, and I still started a business. I just stopped listening to the they crowd. And I started saying, you know what? I know what I'm about. I know I'm built for something special. I don't necessarily know what it is. I'm not even sure if this is what I'm doing supposed to be it. But listen, there's no passion for me to get involved in the insurance business. I fell into the industry by complete accident. And make a long story short, I've been doing this now for 23 years. And this is how I made my money with and discovered my wife and how my walk with Christ got stronger.
Incredible. Let's go back there a little bit, right? Because you kind of zoom through a couple things. Military, I know, first generation American here, immigrant family, struggled upbringing, right? Not from the best parts of neighborhood. Walk us through those early, even if it started in the Marine Corps, like number one, where did a lot of the belief within yourself? Because that's what I hear when you talk, right? Is Matt just has massive confidence and belief within himself. So where did that come from?
I think it came from an upbringing where I was the only Filipino kid in an Italian, Latino, Bohemian, Greek neighborhood, which was the Berwyn, Cicero, Stickney area of Chicago, Al Capone territory. And I was the only Filipino kid in there, man. I was like everybody's trying to figure me out, and I was too dark to be Italian, even though my last name is Sapaula. Sapaula, right? I was too Asian looking to be completely Mexican. Or Puerto Rican. And so I'm constantly running into my life. And I was told my entire life, you're too tall, you're too skinny, you're not Filipino enough, you don't have enough, you can't get in this. And I just kept telling myself, I don't care what you guys are telling me. I don't care what you guys are telling me. I know I'm supposed to be just doing something in my life. I've got to figure this stuff out. And maybe it was sports. I was able to express that. Maybe it was the football field. Maybe it was basketball court because I was able to neutralize a lot of stuff and earn a little bit of respect. And by the way, it's not like I was a D1 athlete or highly recruited or anything like that. I was just out there balling just to try to make a name for myself. And then when I enlisted into the Marine Corps, that's when I really, got down into learning how to iron just the basic things like ironing your uniform, spit shining your boots. When Marines used to still spit shine their boots, and was assigned a task, assigned a duty, and I said, let me just do this the best that I know how, and ask questions along the way, and represent my family and represent my unit and took it from there.
Yeah. Why were some of those things significant? You talk about ironing, I know making of the bed is something massive that, people in the military learn and it carries with them, for the majority of their life. Why were those significant things in your life? And what has maybe some of that taught you about success in entrepreneurship?
I think it's habits. I think it's attention to detail. I think that was, unconsciously programmed into us as we're brainwashed in the Marine Corps. That's hey, listen, take care of your rack. Look squared away in your uniform because if you look good, you feel good, you do good, and you do good, it's all good. And Deion Sanders says, you do good, they pay good, right? And so, I think the small things, the pride of wearing your uniform, the pride of making sure that after a long day, you got a rack, you got a made up, the rack is bed. The rack is made and things are still somewhat organized in your life, even though you just went through chaos in your life. It's the small disciplines that we just started doing. And if you bought into that, that parlayed into the bigger things in your life.
Yeah, how you do one thing is how you do everything, right?
Amen to that. That's right.
And and when there is chaos in the, in your life, whether it's chaos at war, chaos in a business that you're trying to get off the ground, chaos in a relationship, it's like, where can you maybe provide some structure and order in your life? So now you can kind of create that balance, in your life between chaos and order. It's like, if I can have structure and order in the things that I can control, those outside that I can't control don't have as much power and control over me.
That's right. I mean, probably the biggest argument that I found myself having when I got out the Marine Corps was just in my closet. Like, what do I wear today? I don't know how to match clothes. I don't know how to put on a suit. I don't know, right? Because it was out of the normal order that I was used to for 8 years. I'm used to just having a uniform, just press out the uniform. There's no combination. There's no navy blue. There's no gray. There's no black. There's no this tie, none of that stuff. So the funny thing is, if you see my closet today, because when my life says, babe, sometimes you're a mess, but damn, that closet of yours, it's kind of like it's pretty damn coordinated. And we just bought a house last Tuesday, and guess who's gutting out the closet and remaking it just to make sure it's organized the right way? It's not my wife.
Not
It's me.
Shayna.
Yeah, that's right. Right. It's correct. It's not my wife, Sheena. It's my project because when I want to get up in the morning, that's those small disciplines. I want to be able to say, okay, boom, I got
Mm.
my uniform, my suits, whatever I'm going to wear today. My affirmations in there, the things that inspire me are in my closet. Blah 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 blah. Got things going on, and I'm ready to attack the day, man. So, it's the small things that eventually build up to bigger things, and when you do bigger things, then a lot of bigger results come your way.
Yeah, man. And you guys are producing some massive results. You have here recently with, PHP and the agency and everything. How has, prioritizing the look and the presentation of yourself, talk about that, how that's had an impact on your growth in business, your ability to maybe lead others. Like, you got to look the part first. Does this kind of go through when you're thinking about how you look and dress?
It does. It does because not to say that it's right, but people do this all the time. They're gonna judge a book by its cover all the time, all the time. Yeah. I mean, look at the politicians we just voted for. If you didn't know who they were, if they look good on TV, or I don't know who they were, but I remember that name, and let me just go vote for them. It's like, or because Denzel, or because Tom Hanks, or whoever's on the movie. I'm gonna. They look good, they're handsome guys. Boom, I'm gonna watch the movie, or I've seen their work before. I'm gonna watch the next movie. That's why leading roles, leading actors get paid the 20-30 million dollars for a movie that they do. And so, you look at CEOs, you look at leaders in business, leaders in the military. They generally are squared away from a physical appearance standpoint. I look at the body as a temple. I look at the body as a way for you to represent, you know, for you to represent your family, obviously to represent your God. The way you take care of yourself, you should have pride in that. Again, back to
Mm.
the small things. If you have pride in your mental health, your dental health, your health, right? For men, your testosterone health, your physical health, all those things add up. And I lagged that in my late 30s to mid 40s. Late 30s to mid 40s. I lagged on that. You should see pictures from me from just 3 years ago, brother. I was, 6'3", 180. I was looking very beautiful. Very, I fit my
Frail.
wife. I fit my wife's dress very well. So, it wasn't looking good, bro. Because but I have the weird body type. My wife hates it when I say this. I have the weird body type where if I don't work out, my body will break down muscle very quickly, convert it to fat. So I'll be one of those skinny fat guys. So even though I don't, so I won't care. My body type won't carry a lot of fat, but it doesn't want to retain muscle at all. So, that's just the way maybe my Filipino DNA is wired. So I constantly have to be on top of my protein. I have to constantly on top of weights, because then you look good and you feel presentable. You're strong at the gym. You're strong in business. You're strong in a household. You feel better as a man, and you feel better as a man. You perform better as a man. You perform better as a man. And then you're going to love your results.
Absolutely. No, agreed 100% with that. I want to connect a couple dots here, right? So military, tough upbringing, first generation American here, kind of didn't know where we were. We kind of committed ourselves to sports. We then find the military. We do our stint there. We learn pressing things, small attention to detail. How you do one thing is how you do everything. Now, if we fast forward though, 20 years into the future, massive success. The Faith Made Millionaire book is crushing it. What you're doing with PHP. Congrats on the exit that you guys had there. The Money Smart guy, right? The 7-figure squad blowing up. but connect the dots. How do we go from Marine Corps even getting into insurance? Can you kind of walk us through that journey there a little bit?
Completely by accident. When I was working at the military base, I looked to the left, there was a mortgage company in a real estate office. I went to the right, there's an insurance office, right? A retired master sergeant a few months prior had already prospected me. I got my insurance license, but I wasn't completely sold out to the insurance business. I thought it was a tough business, 100% sales. There's no salary, there's no benefits. You got to create your own salary, you got to create your own benefits. And so I asked real quick, hey, Ocean West Funding, um, if I sell something today, when will you pay me? Right? And he's like, well, if you have a client today, they're ran a credit, took the mortgage application. We have about 30 days. 30 days clear, close, and we'll fund. And I'm like, okay, so 30 days until I get a paycheck. He goes, yep. And I went to the right side of the base into the insurance office and I asked him, well, if you pay me, if I sell something, when will you pay me? They said a week from now, 2 weeks from now. Right? I'm like, okay, so let me do both. Okay, because the insurance commissions were a little smaller compared to the mortgage commissions. 45 days later, true to form, I had a $4,000 or $5,000 commission from closing I think it was maybe 100, 110,000, $120,000 condo that my friend had in Southern California. But in the meantime, in those 45 days, I had sold like 10, 12, 15 life insurance policies, which amounted to $5,000, $6,000, $7,000. So even though I had to sell more volume, I can sell more frequently, and I wouldn't have to hold my breath in between, mortgage closings. I can sell a policy here, sell a policy here, sell a policy here, because I can't tell my bills to wait 45 days. I can't tell my kids to not eat, for 45 days. So, so that's how I eventually got away from real estate and real estate sales or mortgage sales and got more involved in the insurance business. And then even then, because I got in and it was 99 and next, bam, the .com bubble hits. So everybody's freaking out. Nobody's buying anything. And I did during tough times what a lot of people I don't think would want to do is I took jobs that a lot of people felt that were beneath them, meaning that, oh, listen, I'm an insurance guy. I got license. I can't get a job. Listen, behind closed doors when nobody's watching, I'm at the YMCA from 5 to 8 o'clock in the morning lifeguarding. Because back then there was no Uber, right? There was no Lyft. There was no DoorDash. Behind closed doors in an area where I wasn't building a market, I'm working at that Olive Garden. In another area where I know none of my prospects were going to be there, I was working at the Jiffy Lube, doing oil changes. And eventually the market started picking back up. Eventually I got my rhythm, I got my mojo back again. And I went to insurance full time. I haven't gotten a job from anybody else since 2003. And been in the business now for, was that 21, almost 20 years now, 21 years now that I've been completely, me, myself, and I as an entrepreneur.
Brother, I've consumed a lot of your content, man. I've listened to a handful of episodes that you've done. I've heard a lot of your solo stuff. I don't think I've ever heard you share those little bits where it's like you were doing what was necessary. And I'm going to go somewhere with this, right? Because I think that there's a lot of people that have maybe reached a certain point, like you fought for our country, military man. Like there was a humbleness into you, like a swallowing of the pride that you had to have because you had this bigger vision. I had a similar experience. So I had a company, we were doing about 500,000 in ticket sales from 2013 to 2018. Not massive success, right? But for me, from young kid kind of growing up, I never kind of seen that type of money. Made some poor decisions financially, wasn't really managing, right? I know you kind of resonate with this, like the parties, the cars, all these stupid things. I wanted to get more into the digital marketing space, but it was slow to take off. Brother, after having $500,000 in a year in a business, I had to swallow my pride and drive Uber and do Lyft and do Shipt and groceries to get the beginning of this business off the ground. And I think a lot of people wrestle with that. Like, why do so many people have the inability to maybe swallow pride and do what they know needs to be done? Because it's like, how am I going to be perceived from others? So kind of getting maybe into the head of people, like, why do you think this is such a hard thing for men specifically to do maybe?
Yeah, I think maybe we're used to being at a certain esteem level, a certain respect level, and you got to do it. And listen, if you got to pay for the bills that your current business is not providing right now, you got to do what you got to do. Don't cross any ethical, legal lines, but you got to do what you got to do. And so I think pride and ego kick into that thing. In my business, insurance business, I can't sell term insurance. People can buy that online. Why do I need people? So listen, man, is that relationship you're building with the client, not the commission that you're making. Get back to that point. And next thing you know, term insurance becomes, oh, help me manage my retirement costs. Oh, help me manage my mom and dad. Help me get a final expense policy. I left my job and I need a 401k rollover into an IRA. I just sold the house. I got a lump sum of cash because I'm downsizing. I need to get a long term. So there's so many different sales that happen in a life insurance an ecosystem where it starts off with something very, very basic. And don't be the one hit wonder. Don't be the one night stand type guy. Be the one that's building a relationship with your community, with your client base. Eventually, that's going to happen. Listen, we just sent out 125 books to local pastors and 25 faith-based influencers, and I need to get you one too, Frank. But we just sent a book. Nothing. We're not asking for anything. I said, listen. I said in the notes. Do we have any of those cards, by the way? I said it's okay. I said thank you. I said when I find myself in a worse position, I find myself in the best position. Thank you for me being a man of God, and thank you for building a ministry and a church where a guy like me could come into, where the lost can be found. Merry Christmas. God bless you. Please consider my book as a thank you gift for doing your part to grow God's kingdom. That's all I said. I didn't ask, hey, go to Amazon. Buy. I just said, hey, I just sent my book just as a thank you for helping a guy like me, because there's many more stories out there like me. And I just want to be the guy that says thank you.
Who was speaking into your life back then, Matt? I know you're big on, mentorship today. Was that something you had back then?
Yeah, back then I was a baby Christian back then. I was maturing in the Lord. I was maturing in my faith. Back then, it was from New Life Covenant. It was Pastor Choco, Wilfredo de Jesus, out of Humble Park in Chicago, who was a Time Magazine, most admired man in the United States. His associate pastors, Pastor Rico, Pastor Ephraim. I would hang around with them. So here I am as a young 20-year-old, later 20-year-old single father. I'd hang around with older married men with successful marriages. So that's what I wouldn't, because I wanted a life they led. I wanted to live a life they were living. 30 years old, and by the way, too, don't act, I'm like I'm perfect, but I had one foot in, one foot out. It took me until my 30th birthday to have one episode where I woke up on the other side of the road at 6 o'clock in the morning, almost hit somebody else because I was driving drunk. And I'm like, this is the last time this is ever going to happen. I almost orphaned my kids. Worse, I probably would have killed somebody. And I need to make a change. So that was me, where I completely just said, okay, God, I did my way for 29 years. Let me try your way for the rest of my life. And here are the results. And so, by the way, I'm still being perfected. I got a lot of way to go. The best is still yet to come. I'm only tasting just a little bit of that favor coming my way. But this has been a journey.
Love it, man. Love it. Let's get more maybe kind of tactical into the financial stuff, right? Obviously, everybody hearing, are we in a recession? What's going on right now? Kind of, we see interest rates going up. Like, there's a lot of kind of head noise out there. What should people be focusing on right now in terms of their financial life? What are some of the real concerns, and what is really BS out there in terms of like what's being shared? So yeah, let's kind of open up the conversation just where we are right now.
Sure. So from a technical standpoint, a recession is when there's 2 quarters in a row with negative GDP. Okay. So that happened from January 1st to end of June, 2 consecutive quarters. So technically, Frank,
we are in a recession.
We're already in a recession. We've been in a recession.
We're 2 quarters into a recession.
Correct. And then the third quarter popped up a little bit. Fourth quarter doesn't seem like it's doing any better. And so next week, there was a Federal Reserve meeting this morning. Looks like at the beginning of next week, at the beginning of December, we're gonna have another rate increase, interest rate increase. So it'll be the 5th rate increase that's happened. I don't think that's ever happened before. So I got to do some Googling, but I don't think that's happened before. Look at some stats, but I don't think the Federal Reserve has ever raised the interest rate 5 times in 1 year. So the Federal Reserve is trying to pump brakes massively, because they're going downhill like this. They're trying to pump some brakes. They're on a runoff ramp right now. They're in a runoff ramp with the economy. Because why? 80% of all money printed in the history of America has been printed since 2020, since this pandemic, which meant that here my desk. I use this as a prop in our workshops in a boardroom. What I'm going to hold up is $100 billion bill. This is actually a legit currency. It's a legit currency from the country of Zimbabwe. Okay. We just brought on board a doctor. She's a neurologist from Zimbabwe. She just got her insurance license because she was freaked out how much money people in the insurance industry make. They're making more money than brain doctors and heart surgeons. She said, I got to get involved in business with you guys because I want to create generational wealth for my family. And she started giving me these dollars, these $100 billion, $10 billion, which is worth maybe a $1, $2, $3 American. So this is what happened when a country prints money without backing it with anything. They just start hitting the print button. And so that's the danger. This should serve as fair warning of what a country does. Because Frank, I was raised in an era where my mother gave me $5 in Chicago. I would go between the two buildings, go in between two buildings, go through the alley, go through the parking lot, grocery store. That's the neighborhood I lived in. Okay, she gave me $5. She said, "Go to get a couple gallons of milk and some eggs, and bring me back some change." $5. Okay, this is the late '80s, early '90s. Today, you don't do that. I was asking my guys this morning, what's 1 gallon of milk cost? It's like $5. Eggs, $3-4 for eggs, right? And so, things are crazy right now. Today, it's $20. Today's $5 of '90s is today's $20. And so yeah. So tactically, you really have to focus on one thing, because all financial game plans fail when one thing is left alone, which is control of one's income. I don't care about your 401k. I don't care about your savings, even insurance. If you don't control your income, if you don't control your finances, all that stuff will unravel. Your savings plan will unravel, your insurance plan will unravel, your 401k plan will unravel, your emergency savings will unravel, because now you got to drain everything to maintain your current lifestyle and expenses, which leads to number 2. You should cut back on certain things that are unnecessary having you spend money. So look at the areas that you can cut back in, areas that are unnecessary, creating waste. Maybe it's time for you to eat dinner with your family more often versus going out, or you can cook together as a family. When we got this new house last Tuesday, Frank, even us, we didn't even connect the cable. We just connected Wi-Fi because we don't watch TV. The kids watch Netflix. They watch Netflix and YouTube. They watch what you call Octonauts and Blippy, and they watch that anyway. We don't watch TV. The only time I watch TV is football games, and even then I watch the 35-minute condensed version on NFL Plus. Right. So my Sundays are filled with recreation, spending time with family, and building and enriching relationships and connections, not mindless binge watching a series. If I hear somebody say a series, I stay away from series, because series causes you to binge watch. And how Netflix gets paid, how Amazon Prime gets paid, how all these guys get paid is how much watch time is from your profile, right? So they're counting how much time you're on profile. So if you're constantly watching, what is causing a lot of watch time? Series.
Well, yeah, the series are there because they're designed, right, to just play continuously. It's like you have to select not to watch the next episode. Like they're just assuming that that once you click the first one, that you're signing up for the whole series, because it literally just plays. Like you have to opt out. It's almost like an email subscription. You opt out of the next show.
And they're written at the end to hook you into wanting to watch the next one. So brilliant on their end. But that's not the life I want to live.
Yeah. So 2 things here, right? Controlling income finances. I love that you talk about the controlling of the income and not just the cutting back of the expenses. Obviously, a lot of people follow Ramsey. I think there's got some good and stuff what he does, but it's always about cutting. Like I like where your guys are like more about, no, we're going to cut back, manage here, but now we're going to give you tools to go out there, produce more. But hearing it's right, we're in a recession. Kind of like now this is kind of daunting times, but I hear you and Pat both kind of talk about the opportunity that's kind of sitting here in front of us over the next 36 months. Can you kind of talk about the opportunity for people out there, even in a downtime?
Yeah, I remember in the Marine Corps, we had fire bucket duty. In Okinawa, Japan, we had fire bucket duty, meaning that fires would be caused because of burning bush would cause massive fires in the forest, right? Somebody lights a fire and they throw it in the bush. Next thing you know, it's going to cause a massive fire in the forest because everything's so dry. So we'd have to do as Marines, we'd be in charge of fire buckets. So we have to go, go to a lake or go to the ocean, pick up the water and drop it to put out the fire. But the benefit of a forest fire is this. Here's the benefit of a forest fire. All the big trees that was soaking up all the nutrition, all the sun, all the good stuff, and keeping the trees at the bed of the forest from getting that sun and nutrition. Now now the forest fires cleared it out. It cleared the path for the smaller seedlings to start growing. So the seeds of future multimillionaires are planted during recessionary times. Recessionary times expose fake money. What got exposed in '01? Fake .coms. Like .com, anything with like the NFTs of '01, right? If it said .com, people bought it. And it ended up being just a lot of fake stuff. '07, '08, '09, who got exposed? Bernie Madoff. A lot of fake companies got exposed. They really didn't have solid business models. So these companies got exposed. What got exposed in this this current recession? FTX, NFTs, NFTs, cryptocurrencies. Those all got exposed. Fake money, fake fundamentals, no fundamentals. So right now, a lot of companies are being restarted, rebirthed, birthed. So right now, if anybody out there is thinking about an idea, go out there, feed your faith, and put it out there. If it doesn't cost you a lot of money, put it out there. See what the market does. That's what I started when I started selling insurance. Will the marketplace respond to what I'm doing? Oh, people need retirement planning. Oh, people need insurance. Oh, okay, there's a demand for this. Okay, let me start getting it. Oh, let me increase my skill set. Let me improve my marketing. Let me make sure if people are looking for this stuff, they find me. So those things started to snowball over time. Once I found an area that I can serve a need and I can provide a solution to fill it, boom, there it is. Because now the big boys got cleared out. And so more new entrepreneurs are created during recessionary periods and more millionaires are created during recessionary periods because they just have the opportunity to do so.
And how does brand, personal brand kind of maybe play into that, and would now be the good time for somebody to, maybe start building personal brand? I know that's one thing you talk a lot about with the transition when you went to PHP, right? Is it provided you an opportunity in an industry that never had anybody recognized as a brand. And Pat kind of said, hey, we're going in a different direction. Now here you are, massive role there, but you have this whole other kind of parallel of everything you're doing with Money Smart Guy, 7-figure squad. So it's built around a personal brand. So talk to the importance of the entrepreneurs out there having a brand, and is now, because you can start a brand with $0. You got an iPhone, YouTube is free, Instagram is free, start uploading some videos. So can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, in the financial services world, you're not going to find a lot of guys that are going to brand because of their licenses, the legal compliance departments, the lawyers. They're not going to want you to go out there and market it. So the first question I asked Patrick Bet-David is, hey, PBD, when I come here to PHP Agency, can I create a personal brand? He says, please do. So I spent the first 14, 15 years of my career. I mean, the best I did in terms of creating a personal brand was creating a personal brochure. That's the best. It wasn't a fancy website. It wasn't anything social media. I started using Facebook. I started using MySpace, but I didn't really get robust in marketing it and putting it out there until probably the last 5, 6, 7 years as I came under the mentorship of Patrick Bet-David. And so he kind of showed me the ropes, a couple things. It's not like he was doing it for me. He'd show me the ropes, execute. Show me the ropes, execute. Every week I'm getting together. Every week I'm getting together with him on Zooms, hour and a half conversations, masterminding, brainstorming every week for the last 7 years. And not to count even the conversation we have in between Zooms or in between conference calls. So you have to build today, I believe, 2 brands. If you're going to start a company, you got to launch the company's brand, or what the company stands for. And the second one is building your brand. If you look at who's built a better brand, Jeff Bezos or an Amazon, or Elon Musk and Tesla, who's built a better personal brand? We got to say Elon's done much better. Yeah, Musk all the way versus Bill Gates and Microsoft, right, who created better personal brand there versus Steve Jobs and Apple. Jobs all the way, all the way. So if you are an entrepreneur, you got to create a brand for your business, but also create a brand for yourself, which attracts eyeballs to your business. And so very easy to do it these days. Like what we're doing right now, Riverside, we're using Riverside. Back then we were using Zoom. You pick up your phone, IG Live, Facebook Live, create. Here's what I would share with somebody creating structure to your content. It's a 4-step process. Number 1, P, talk about the problem in that video. Number 2, talk about the consequences of that problem, allowing it to continue to exist and without doing anything about it. Number 3, create a solution. What is the solution to fix that problem so these consequences don't come around? And number 4, why you? Credibility. Why you? Do you have a proof of concept? Do you have clients that have experienced your product, your service? Do you have testimonies? Do you have positive experience? You have a client story? You have a crusade story? So there's 4 parts in terms of creating content for YouTube channel or TikTok or whatever. It could be 30 seconds, it could be 60 seconds, it could be 5 minutes. That's my structure when I create content.
I love that. I'm going to rip it. Now, big part of your big part of your personal brand is your faith, right? We talked about the book here a handful of times, Faith Made Millionaire. I love the Proverbs series that you've done on YouTube. You talked about that moment when you were 30, right? Driving on the wrong side of the road, you kind of had this wake up, and like that's when you no longer had just one foot in, you went all in with both. Was that the point when the faith and everything the Bible came into the business, or when did that really become the big focus for your personal brand?
Yeah, Frank, that grew. The more I grew in my leaning, in my asking, in my prayer life, the more I grew in my family, the more I leaned on, man, I can't figure this stuff. I don't have all the answers. And like I tell my kids now, my kids are getting older. I have three older kids that are 27. My son's 27. My twin girls are 21. My son's 12, and our youngest son is 3. So I got broad age gap, right? And so I told the 3 other kids, because sometimes you get to your teenage years, your early adult life. Sometimes you distance yourself away from your parents. I said, listen, kids, all good. I said, the older you get, the smarter I'll become. Right? The older you get, the more you realize, damn, this toothpaste is like expensive. This toilet paper, woo, this 3-ply with the lemony fresh set in patterns, this is expensive. It's a Scott 1-ply, So, they're going to eventually find that out, and that's what's happened. I've had now the last couple of years the best relationship with my oldest son, the best relationship with my twins, compared to maybe the last 5 years. And because they're trying to create their own path, and they think they got it, and I want them to find their own way. And I'm gonna pull back. I'll be a consultant in their life. I'll love them as a dad. I'll consult in their life. It's kind of a weird dynamic when you have older adult kids versus when they were, in 4, 5, 10, 12, 13 years old. But the reason I'm bringing that up is the more I matured as a father, the more I matured as an adult, the more I matured as an entrepreneur, the more I needed to lean on a power and a source and wisdom greater than what I can currently have right now here on earth. And that's when I start crack open the Bible. I said, man, this Bible, that pertains to me. That pertains to me. And a lot of people go into scripture, and say, hey, read the book of John. For your salvation. No, I went to the book of Proverbs and Ecclesiastes, because those dealt with wealth, those dealt with money, possessions, generational wealth. That's how God spoke to me and got me to read the rest of the Bible and to see how other aspects of my life can also improve.
Curious if there's been any, pushback to you, maybe from the Christian community, right? So I'm new in my faith. I was saved in 2018. I'm literally stumbling across, every single day, man, trying to figure this walk out. But one thing I've noticed is a lot of times, although you see it in the business space with guys like yourself, and there's other handful of guys that are really kind of leading the business with the faith first. But a lot of times in the church, right, like that's a conversation that a lot of people want to have. It's like, oh, like wealth, money, like how do these things align? So for you, have there been any pushback from the Christian community on why you're always talking about money? And then on the other side of things, on the business side of things, has there been any pushback from, we don't want to hear about this Bible, we don't want to hear about this, just talk to us about business? So I know it's kind of 2 questions here, but
Let's start with the business. I've gotten very little pushback and a lot of embrace. It became a Amazon bestseller in 3 different categories. It became a bestseller in the Christian category in business, stewardship, and believe it or not, multicultural categories. It got picked up by Target. It got picked up by Barnes and Noble. And I'm self-published. So it's not like I have a publisher. This is just a paperback book. I uploaded a PDF on Amazon. I'm selling for $17.99. So it's not like I had a PR agent. It's not like I had a big, massive campaign. So the market responded to the book. And so I think people today, Frank, are looking for this. There's a survey by Forbes that said 50% of Americans feel that the morale in America is poor. There's a survey out there that says that in 10 years, Americans feel that there's going to be a civil war in America. Well, what do you think? What do you think happened in the 60s when they decided to take the Bible out of schools? It was ripping the fundamental values and principles of how America was built. And so when kids have no value and principle to anchor upon, guess what? They're going to say, okay, phrases like, I'm going to do me. I'm going to figure me out. Well, what is you? You don't know who you are. You don't know who you are at 8 years old. You know who you are at 12 years old. Shoot, some people don't even know who they are at 25 years old. And you're going to try and do you? What if you is doing wrong? Well, what's your basis to compare it, to contrast it? Nothing. Based on your friends down the street, based on everybody on social media. If it's based on biblical truths, which human history over 2,000 years of human history of people that have messed up lives. And I'm laughing at the Bible, right? Check this out, Frank. You go to Genesis, right? Talks about the greatness of man. Man's been this, man is it. Next, chapter 3 comes around, boom, the fall. So in other words, this is the greatness of man right here. The greatness of man right here. The rest of the stuff is how you fix man's life. the rest of the stuff. And so I need to find an instruction manual to fix my life. And to me, for some people, they find other things. For me, I found a resource as the Bible, and I share with my experience with what that has done. So from the Christian community, the worst pushbacks, from the what do you call it, Ivan? The judgmental Christian community, the judgmental Christian community. Oh, you should be right. Listen, there's a large side that they think it's more holy to be broke, to be more lenient and dependent upon God, which is a misunderstanding of the Bible. So you got two extremes. You got the poverty gospel, and you have the prosperity gospel. Right? I'm in the middle. And so when I read Proverbs, when I read Ecclesiastes, when I read parables like Matthew 25 and the parable of the talents, I don't think God wants us broke. I think if He gives you opportunity, He give you blessing, He wants you to multiply it. He wants you to manifest greatness. So therefore, you let people know how good God is in your business, in your family life, whatever it is that you do. You are there to be a beacon, a spotlight, not to be hidden under a basket, but on top of a mountaintop to show how good God could be in your life. And maybe pick up a Bible and see how your life can change for the better and what that salvation looks like.
You and your wife are business partners, correct?
Yes.
How do you manage the relationship with being partners in business, but then at home, do you guys step into different roles? Like, can you kind of talk how you make that work?
We establish our roles. Like, okay, babe, what do you think a man should do? Okay, babe, what do you think a woman should do? So we had that conversation, right? Take out the trash, right? I knew early on in our relationship that my wife is not going to be the one cooking. She's not going to be the one cleaning, but that doesn't mean that she's not going to be a mother and to our family. It's all good. We can hire people to cook. We can hire people to clean, even though we were broke to begin the process because we're always thinking long term. Do I really want my wife's talents and abilities of her being a queen to be in the kitchen? Now, some women are fantastic in the kitchen, and that's their role. My wife, not so much. Maybe to reheat, maybe to cook toast, right? Maybe to order DoorDash. That's the limitation of her skill and her desire. But my wife wants to always take care of us, right? So it's not like just because she doesn't cook doesn't mean she's not taking care of her family. Yeah. So she does a lot of these things to make sure that we're squared away. My talents, I'm not the handyman. And listen, hey babe, they don't have no honey-do list. Come over here. I'm an entrepreneur. I may not come home at 6 o'clock. I might come home at 12 o'clock. Are you okay with a husband coming home late at night and knowing that I've been working, not hanging out at the club and drinking and whatever you think I was doing till midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. So we have those expectations managed and discussed up front. I remember when we were dating, I said, babe, listen, I'm a single dad of 3 kids. Here's how my divorce went. Here's my financial situation was. Here's how things are going. It's a mess right now. And I'm saying this because I potentially might lose you as a girlfriend. But you need to know my life because I think this is going somewhere. And I don't want to lose. If I lose you because I'm honest and transparent, then you weren't the one for me. But if you go through this and you say yes, then I got to make some serious decisions. I might have to wife you up. Right? And so she goes, oh, this is, and by the way, I said that to myself. And so I remember it was an Italian restaurant, the placement, those paper, those big tablecloths, the paper they just put over. And I drew on the whole thing, my mess. And she goes, oh, is that it? I'm like, yeah, that's it. I thought it was a big mess. I'm like, man, this is a girl for me. Damn. And so, but it's a work in progress because we're two alpha personalities. She's very competitive. I'm very competitive. She wants to win. I want to win. And so at the same time, we have to identify roles. Here's roles that you do. Here's roles that I do. Here's where we intersect. Don't point your finger at me because when I see you point the finger at me, I'm not looking at you as my business partner. I'm looking at you as my wife, vice versa. We probably need to have somebody in the middle mediate or manage these things because I never want to be in a position where my wife, hey, babe, you need to do this, or babe, you need to do this. Now that's going to just cause chaos when we get home. And so 8 years of us now about to be married in February, 10 years of us working together in business, which means we have about 25 years of arguments already under our belt. And we're still married, man. And I think if you read the Bible, you look at all the husbands and wives working together. Husbands and wives, we're working together. There wasn't like, okay, babe, you go your path, I'll go my path. I'll see you at 5 o'clock. It was tent makers, spice makers, textiles, farms, animals working together. He had his role, she had her role, but they had the ultimate outcome together.
I love that. And I love hearing that, and I think that a lot of guys will really enjoy that as well as number one, like just because a woman maybe doesn't want to be in the kitchen or doesn't want those roles, like that doesn't take anything away from her feminine nature, right? Hearing your wife wants to take care of and provide, like, although those aren't her skill sets, we'll find the people to do that. And same thing with you. It's like, I'm the same way. I make jokes with people all the time. I got two pictures, well, four over there and two sitting on the wall over here that aren't yet on the wall. Cause be honest, Matt, like I can't hang a picture on the wall, dude. Like,
Exactly. I got a bunch of pictures. If you look at my house, right, I got my 5 picture frames on the floor right now. I ain't hanging this stuff up. Yeah.
no, so we'll get the handyman over. We'll get all that taken care of.
Yeah.
I'm in a new place. I've only been here for a short while, so it's okay that I haven't yet set it up. You had a recent video, I think it was in the last couple of days, where you talked about the three men that all men need in their life. So the three people that all men need in their lives is you need the mentor, right? You need the person that's kind of showing you the way. The person that has a life that you want is going to lay the framework out there for you. Then you need the kind of ride or die, the person that you're kind of doing life with, kind of in the same place, on the same path and journey. But the third one was one that really jumped out to me is like, you need the mentee. And I think every young man, right? And hopefully you agree with this, like whether you're 18 or 80, you gotta have a person in your life that you're kind of speaking into, you're kind of lifting up. Can you talk to the importance of that and how that's kind of played out in your life?
Yeah. Because it's so easy to receive. Everybody wants to receive and get and right. But it's not a thing to give. It's better to give. And I think in that giving process, in that teaching process, in that example process, in that you want to be not only somebody that's guiding somebody to tell them what to do, but you actually showing them what to do. I believe that in mentorship and business and the best things in life, the best things are caught, not taught. And so if you want to say, hey man, I need you to live your life this way, why? Okay, let's bro. 20 years ago, I was the same way. And best part of my selfish intention to also do this podcast of the work that you're doing and the men that you're impacting and the wives that are benefited from having better men at home and for the kids that have better fathers that are raising them because they're more focused, they're more intentional. That's my selfish desire is because 20 years ago, I was having some issues. My life wasn't perfect. And by the way, my life still isn't perfect. There's a lot of things that's being perfected, but it's a whole lot better today than it was 23 years ago. So my selfish desire is to know I'm probably talking to somebody out there who's going through my issues and they may not be in a best financial situation that they don't want to pick up the phone because they see no caller ID and block ID because collectors are calling them. I went through that. I remember one time, brother, I was in the middle of a Zoom. I'm not a Zoom, Skype. This is mid 2000s, early 2000s. I'm on a Skype and I didn't pay my bill, my electricity bill for like 2-3 months. Next thing you know, I hear somebody jiggling with the lockbox. I'm like, oh man, there's somebody. Next thing you know, my Skype got cut, my electricity got cut, everything I got. It's like how embarrassed. My phone got cut because I was on a landline, and so I've been through that. And I think if people realize that people like us are in a position of what we're in today, is because we've been humbled, and you need to hear the outcome of somebody that went through the humbling process and still willing to fight through. And that's for me the power of having mentees. I love mentees because I see younger versions of me. They just need some guidance. I wish I had better guidance coming up in business. And so when I was coming up, there was no podcasts. There was no YouTube. Come on, man. So we
Yeah.
have that today. If this is my contribution back to society to help mentor somebody indirectly, well, amen. Let's do it.
I love that. I appreciate that a lot too, Matt. We have that built into our curriculum. So we walk these guys through kind of a 16-week kind of reboot recovery. That midway point, like they're having some success. They kind of got this thing they got a little bit under control. Now it's on there to kind of go out and find somebody that they can mentor, lead in any area of their life. It doesn't need to be with their sex and pornography compulsion, but some area, because it forces you, if you got a guy that's looking up to you, you have to continue to grow and evolve. Like, because if somebody's looking at you, eventually they're going to pass you. I talk a lot about for me. So, 6 months after quitting porn, I started a podcast and it was to get my story out there in the world. And what I didn't understand at the time is I was recruiting all this accountability for me. Now, every month we have 60 to 80,000 men that show up and they're expecting Frank to deliver a powerful message. They're expecting Frank to lift them up. But more importantly, they're expecting Frank to walk in integrity with what he's saying and continue to live this life out. So for me, I've injected all this external accountability for me to continue to grow and level up. And that's what I think about when I really, think about taking people under your wing, showing them the way. Is it's like, if you're going to lead, you're going to have to continue to grow and evolve. So
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah, for example, my business, I'd be a fool if I didn't have my own estate plan and my will and trust are all in here. I keep this here just to make sure I keep myself accountable in case something happens to me. People know. I mean, right next to me in my oops, sorry about that. Right next to me here, these are my personal life insurance policies. I own these. I started with one. right? Because I want to teach, I want to show people how to create wealth. I'm creating generational wealth, and I own generational wealth. So whatever your niche is, you got to teach, because if a 20-year-old version of you says, "Hey man, show me how to create wealth," you got one policy after 20 years, or doing what you're doing. So what you're doing, whatever you want to focus in on, I love what you just said, or whatever you want to focus in, or create that external accountability, step up in that game, and own that niche, and rock with it, because that's gonna listen. The person that learns more from a subject is not the student; it's actually the teacher.
Love that, man. Matt, we could go on, man. I know you're on a hard stop here, so I want to be obviously respectful of your time. Tell the audience out there where they connect with you. Obviously, guys, go check out the book, Faith Made Millionaire. If you got any value out of this and you want to get into the story of Matt coming up from the Marines, how he got into PHP, incredible story, incredible actionable steps, though. So yeah, where can people connect more? YouTube, podcast, all the things that going on, and we'll close it out with our last question.
Yeah, our long-form content is on YouTube at 7 Figure Squad, a channel dedicated to help you think like a millionaire, strategize like a millionaire, so therefore you can become a first-generation cash flow millionaire. And if you want to connect with my personal brand, Money Smart Guy, here as well, faithmademillionaire.org. You can go to Amazon, Faith Made Millionaire. You'll be able to find the book very easily. But yeah, I just to let you guys know, I do get a lot of DMs, but I'm the one checking my DMs, not a bot, not an assistant. I check my DMs, so you'll be talking to me.
Awesome. Guys, yeah, we'll get all that stuff plugged down there. Definitely recommend checking out the YouTube channel. Great actionable stuff on the topic of money, topic of Proverbs, and you got some great interviews. You bring some amazing guests on to the show. Matt, we'd like to end every podcast with the same question. Obviously, the title of our show is called The Superhuman Life. For me, when I talk about living a superhuman life, it's really a belief. It's a way I like to show up every single day. And it's an understanding that we are here for a purpose. Like God has put a purpose and calling on each one of our lives. But knowing and accepting that isn't enough. We have to be intentional about how we show up. We have to be intentional about our growth and our contribution and service to others. So for me, that's what I like to talk about when I say living a superhuman life. But I like to close every conversation with the same question. So Matt Sapaula, Money Smart Guy, 7 Figure Squad, how would you define living a superhuman life?
You want to be regular human, or you want to be superhuman? I don't know about you, man, but you were created to do some positive things. You were created to do some super natural, super inspirational, super magnetic, super fun things in your life. Average and ordinary is for the broke and the weary. You weren't called to be broke. You weren't called to be weary. You were created to be super. Out of 1 trillion sperm cells, you willed your way to be number one. You're the superhuman. You got inside that egg. You became a winner. And I just want to let you know this. There's 3 responses to your greatness. You can do 3 things to respond to this superhuman calling on your life. Number 1, you can be interested. Yeah, Frank, I appreciate it, man. I'm interested in being great. And you may study up on it. You might listen to this podcast or many others, but that's about it. Number 2, you can be committed. Like you're going to take actionable steps from anything that Frank has written about, talked about, coached about, podcasted about. Boom, you start taking some actionable steps. You're committed, you're following up, you're disciplined, you're seeking mentorship, you're aligning with your mentorship, you're accountable, you're creating results, you can be committed. Or the third one is, listen, man, I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed about being, that's what superhuman is all about, being obsessed about the calling and the purpose in your life, because God has called you to do something awesome. Don't be average. Don't be ordinary. Don't be mediocre. Be super.
No, brother. 164 episodes, man. It took us that long to get to that word. I do think living a superhuman life has to come from an obsession on pursuing God, a obsession on pursuing greatness, an obsession on pursuing the man that God had you created to be. Matt Sapaula, you are a gift. Brother, thank you for everything you're doing. This has been incredible. Guys, check it out. Buy the book, subscribe to the channel, connect with Matt on Instagram. But for Frank Rich, we love you guys. If you got value out of this, make sure to share it. And leave us a 5-star rating. Quit consuming this stuff for free and start giving back, start sharing, start getting this message out there. We love you guys. Matt, Frank Rich, we'll see you guys next week.